Don't believe the lie. This is a quote from William Blake. Ken Wapnick would, Dr. Kenneth Wapnick would often enough mention this quote. It's not actually a direct quote from William Blake, but it's more or less something he said in one of his poems. William Blake was a British visionary poet who we know from, he had a number of really great quotes that are very memorable. One was, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear as it truly is, which is infinite. That's a paraphrase, not exact quote, but and then Aldous Huxley did a book called The Doors of Perception, based on his mescaline, his experience on mescaline. And then Jim Morrison of The Doors took that and named the Doors after that. Doors of Perception. He read Aldous Huxley's book, and he also was aware of William Blake. And it's a great name. When you understand that the Doors were named after that, it's a very cool name. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. This is a continuing series now called The Big Lie that I'm doing, right? Trumpism and ACIM. It's partly because of the time we're in. It's a very interesting time. It's a very divided time in the world, especially in the United States, where we have basically the country is very split. Even right now, if you look at the polls, Donald Trump he's a little bit, it's like 45% approval, 53% disapproval, something like that, right? That's where we're at right now. It's probably going to go down. His approval rating is going to continue to drop because the economy is tanking right now. Not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk more about the bigger picture, and I wanted to really get into the big lie today and talk about how it applies to A Course in Miracles. And really, politics, I think, is important only in the sense that I think we do want to have leaders who really truly have the best interests of the people in mind, and they are really don't have hidden agendas, and are not are really acting in a way coming from a place of love, right? That's maybe a lot to ask from politicians, but I believe that we deserve that, and it's not wrong as a spiritual person to also ask for that, even though as a student of A Course in Miracles we know it's all a dream, or at least we're trusting it's all a dream. It's all an illusion. Don't give the illusion energy. Don't, so we think, but on the other hand, I would say that there are times in our lives where it might be actually helpful for us to take a stand, and it may be that we're actually putting our head in the sand if we're not, and we don't want to do that either because that's fear, and we don't want to. So we always have to ask ourselves: Are we acting from a place of love, or we're acting from a place of fear? If we're acting from a place of love, we act without getting upset or we act in a calm way, right? We act in a loving way, in a compassionate way, but sometimes we have to do things, to try to stop something that's not for the common good, right? And I think we are in that place right now. That's what I've been talking about in these videos. But the big lie. So I've been talking about the big lie in Trumpism. Now let's go back to something Trump wrote on his Truth Social, which was he was quoting Napoleon. It was not a direct quote. It was a paraphrase of Napoleon. It wasn't exactly what Napoleon said. I'd have to pull it up and I don't have it in front of me, but what Trump wrote was something like, "He who saves his country violates no laws. He who saves his country violates no law or no laws," which sounds good, right? Sounds heroic. It sounds noble, but it also sounds scary if you think of nothing to be afraid of, but in the sense of what Trump seems to be doing, which is violating laws because he feels that he's saving his country. And the question is he really, right? Is he just posted that he's purposely tanking the economy, which I don't think he really purposely did, actually. But people that support him now are saying that, yeah, he's doing that because he has, this is like 5D chess moves, that Trump knows what he's doing, and he's doing this on purpose, and then it's gonna come back so much better if we just give it some time. And that could be true, it could be true. But what I want to get at with this idea of the big lie is, what is the big lie? The big lie is, or at least it can be, like Trump saying, well, look, yeah, I lied, he lied many, many times to the American people, straight to our faces, right? And that's a proven fact. This is not spin, and this is not fake news. This is the reality, is that Trump has told many lies, been deceitful on a number of occasions. Whether he's been knowingly deceitful on every occasion is an open question. Doubtful that he was, but the truth is that he has said a lot of things that just were not true. For example, starting day one, he would drive down prices and make America affordable again. Here we are 3 months into his term, and he did not do that on day one, and just the opposite has happened. Now, so I don't think that Trump really planned this out, right? But you could say that Trump would say, well, look, the big lie means that I know that I'm doing the best for my country, so it's okay to lie, and it's okay to do these things. It's okay if the people have some pain and some discomfort and some hard times, because I know that I'm saving my country, and so the ends justify the means. And some people obviously agree with that and think that that's what's happening. And other people like me would say, well, it could be that could be true, actually, that ultimately Trump will emerge victorious in all of this and will turn the country around, and it will be a new golden age. Could be. Who am I to say that that's not going to happen? I mean, it could very well happen. Does not look at all like that's going to happen, but that could happen. You never know. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I kind of lost my train of thought, but some people would say the big lie is okay, right? The big lie is okay because the ends justify the means. The end justifies the means. And others would say the big lie in this case is not, the end is not going to come, right? The end is nowhere in sight, and it's highly doubtful that the end will come. So in this case, the big lie is just a big lie, right? It's not gonna it's not gonna fulfill its promise. Now, this is where I'm going to bring in something which I think is very interesting, could be this could be one of the most controversial videos I ever do, and also the most interesting, I think. So let me just talk about how I got into A Course in Miracles. I've talked about this before on this channel, but I want to just mention again that I got into it because I was carrying around Gary Renard's Disappearance of the Universe. I was on this trip to Bali, and I had it with me, and I pulled it out. I started reading it. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I got sucked in. and I found it very, very compelling, very, very fascinating. I wanted to think that it was true. I wanted to think that his ascended masters, Art and Persa, were true, and this whole story was true. And I'm still open to that. It could be true. I don't want to. Who's to say? I weigh more towards that it's not true, and that Gary Renard also has his big lie, right? And the lie in this case is, yeah, I'm gonna make up this story. Just go with me now. Pretend that this is what he was thinking. This might not have been what happened. I kind of think it is, but he came up with this brilliant idea, which is to make up the story about these ascended masters coming to him and telling him all about A Course in Miracles. And his thought behind it was he was going to get a lot of people into A Course in Miracles, which he did, right? His book has who knows how many copies, maybe in the millions by this time. I don't know. But this is one of the most beloved books about A Course in Miracles. There have been several others that have been very popular, like Love is Letting Go of Fear by Gerald Jampolsky. And then Marianne Williamson had A Return to Love. And there's been some others that have been best-selling books that have hit the mainstream, right? I don't think that Gary's has sold as many as those other two, but I could be wrong. But in any case, I think Gary's book, especially Disappearance of the Universe, he wrote some other books after, Disappearance of the Universe has probably done more than any book to really get people understanding A Course in Miracles, because he wrote it in a very down-to-earth way, very entertaining way. Now, he would claim that he did not write it. He merely dictated it. I'm still saying that could be true. I don't want to, but let's just entertain the idea that he came up with a big lie. And the big lie was the end justifies the means, meaning that I'm going to help get a lot of people into A Course in Miracles, or a lot of people that put it down. Now they'll pick it up again, and they'll better understand it, which is true. His book did help a lot of people in that way. It helped me to get into the course to begin with. So Gary, if you ever hear this video, thank you. Even though I'm also doubting your story, but this is all for the sake of love. Everything that we're doing here. So I'm not coming up from a mean-spirited place. In fact, I'm really just putting this out there. Does the end justify the means? Is it okay to lie if you know that the lie is going to do more good than bad? And good and bad are just, the relative terms anyway. But will it serve the plan of atonement? Will it serve the process of awakening for myself and for everyone else? And there really is only one of us. All right. So that I hope you see how this relates to the big lie of Trumpism. What I'm calling the big lie, right? And let's just say, what else can we say about the big lie in Trumpism? Basically, Donald Trump had to tell a lot of lies because he would not get the support that he got unless he did that. And then after he was elected, he just went ahead with the agenda that he had, which was basically this thing called Project 2025, which he denied really even knowing about. It was like, no, I don't know about that. And that's what he says about a lot of things. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard about it. I don't know anything about that. And basically that is what he has been doing. That's what he's been implementing since day one. He has not been implementing a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. So anyway, I talked to another course teacher. I'm not going to say who it was, but this course teacher, and you may know who this teacher is. So I'm not going to say the name, but you may know. But he was a little upset at Gary so let me just say this. So I think the other thing that Gary was doing with his book was if he really made up the story, it was a polemic. It's a polemic against the other half of the course community that did not like Ken Wapnick. It was against Ken Wapnick. And so what Gary was doing was he was basically saying Ken Wapnick is the preeminent teacher of A Course in Miracles, and much of Disappearance of the Universe is basically what Ken Wapnick taught about A Course in Miracles. And this got political very fast with Course in Miracles when Gary came out with the book, and it became very popular. And then people, on the other side of the fence or the other side of the aisle, if you want to talk, like Democrats and Republicans, there's like Democrats and Republicans in the Course in Miracles community. They raised a stink about Gary's book and said, this is just a rehash of Ken Wapnick and all these other things to put Gary down and put his book down. I think with all this, the truth is somewhere in between, right? We don't have enough time to get into all that, but so this other teacher that I connected with, very popular teacher of A Course in Miracles, said Gary Renard is like the Donald Trump of the ACIM community. He's the Donald Trump of the Course in Miracles community. He's a fraud. I think that's basically what this teacher thinks, is that Gary made up the story, made up his whole thing. His whole thing is based in a lie, based in a, deception, fraud, deception. This is what people say about Donald Trump. He's a scam artist. He's a con artist. He's a fraudster. He's been that his whole life. and why do we think that now is any different? And so basically this teacher was saying that about Gary, more or less, the Donald Trump of the ACIM community. It's a very strong claim to make. Now, again, I think, and this teacher also has gone on record saying that he talked to Ken Wapnick about the situation with Gary and told him, I think Gary is putting one over on people with his books here. And I think what Ken said to him was, he quoted, I think, Paul from the New Testament, something like, it might not have been Paul, somewhere in the New Testament where it says, not Jesus saying this, but probably Paul, that is, if it is of God, it will stand. If it's not of God, it will not. And I think what Ken was saying there was the big lie is okay if it serves the end, right? If it serves God's purpose, God's will, it will stand. And it doesn't matter if it's a made-up story. Why does it matter? Why are you getting so upset at Gary, right? If it's true, if it's not true, it's all made up anyway, right? I've said this before in some of my other videos. Why get upset at Gary? You know, and so this is the final thing I want to say. This is maybe the most important thing is maybe A Course in Miracles is the same, right? A Course in Miracles is a big lie. I'm not saying it is, but another term that people use is pious fiction. Jesus is giving us basically a lie, but it's serving the purpose of bringing us home. And in that sense, because the Course is not truth. The Course is also an illusion. The Course is also part of the illusion. Jesus is just presenting it. He could have spun it in how many different ways. He could have told it. He could have done it many different ways, but he chose the way that he did. It's a beautiful way. It's a way that works for many people. And I think more and more people getting into A Course in Miracles. But don't forget that the Course in Miracles is itself also an illusion. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take the words too seriously. Don't, it's all symbols. Is there even a reality that this is bringing us to? Is there an end? I think what Jesus is saying is just do it and you will see. If it's helping you to be more peaceful, more joyful, more helpful, more centered, calm, able to relate to other people, to look them in the eye and be transparent with people. That's nothing to sneeze at, right? That ain't no small gift. So whether the Course is true or not, in a way, does not even matter. And if it's true, then we will, in due time, we will know that it's right. In no time, we will know. So again, I think this might be one of the most important videos I have done to date. I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It could be, that let me tell this one other thing, which I think is really interesting. It could be that Donald Trump, for all his flaws and all his lies, and this is something people have been saying, is that maybe he's being used to serve a greater good, to serve. I mean, really, everything is that. If you trust that everything is really happening for the best, happening for the good, then Donald Trump is as well, and what's happening right now is as well. But it's a question of whether somehow Donald Trump is being used in such a way that he looks like a clown and he seems like he's wrecking everything, but the reality is he is actually bringing us to a better place. So I did this post where I basically forget which post it was, but it was basically saying that Trump really should step down. We should be impeached. He should be, this is. Now, I'm not saying when I'm saying this. I'm saying this. This is what it really looks like. And I'm just doing my part. I'm not upset. I don't hate Trump. Would like to see him succeed. He's just another human being, just like all of us. He's just another son of God, just like all of us. I don't want to see him suffer, and I don't want to see him. I would like to see him succeed. Right? Let's put it that way. Even despite all the things that he's done in his life, but we've all done things. I don't want to say that what most people have done is the same as him, because he's done some pretty horrible things, it sounds like. But for the Course, there's no order of difficulty in miracles, and there's no hierarchy of illusions. So anyway, the morning I wrote that, I fell asleep after I wrote it. It was posted on Facebook. Then I had this dream right before I woke up, where I was like in this. I mean, it's hard to explain, because you know how dreams are, but I was like in the MAGA cult, and they gave me like this soggy apple, this like brown soggy apple, and they said light it, and when you lit it, it showed you this whole scene, and it made it very clear that Donald Trump is the Messiah. This is why Donald Trump is God, right? This is why Donald Trump is who he says he is, and this is why, you know, the cult says he is. You know, just trust Donald Trump, trust everything he does, everything he says. But now, you might think that in the dream I was still skeptical, but no, I was like, oh my God, it's true. He's the Messiah. Right? And when I woke up from the dream, I was like, yeah, maybe it's true. And I'm still saying that, actually. I'm still saying, you know, who knows what's happening? No one really knows. That's the thing. You know, we're only, it's anyone's best guess. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Would love to hear your thoughts. Anything you want to share. You know, I talked about the big lie, just to sum it up. I talked about the big lie as it relates to Trump and Trumpism. Talked about the big lie as it relates to Gary Renard and his book Disappearance of the Universe, and his other books, which are also based on talking to Arten and Persa, his ascended masters, and then of course in Miracles as the big lie as well, and how a big lie is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It could be really actually the way to salvation. So love to hear your thoughts, and see ya.